All right. And going live on Facebook, welcome. YouTube, welcome. And we are live on Instagram. All right. Welcome to day 17 of Kauffman Writes. I'm Kauffman, and I am live streaming my writing process. The reason I started this was because I've been writing my entire life, but recently I wanted to improve my consistency when it comes to writing. So I challenged myself to write for 30 minutes a day for 1 year. Can I do it? Maybe. I guess we're going to find out. So if you've been joining me so far, you've probably seen I keep trying to just improve the consistency and improve the setup just to make it easier for you to tag along. I'm actually super excited because I got this cool mic that you see here. So we're going to see how the mic works out this evening. This is going to be an interesting experience. So when it comes to the audio, I've really been wanting to improve the quality of it. Not sure yet how I feel about this mic. It's live streaming gaming mic. So I'm going to be playing around with it. If you can't hear me or if it's too loud, just let me know. Okay. So before I hop into my writing, so far what I've been doing, I've essentially been going straight into what I've been writing for the day. But as I've been thinking about how do I make this a little more interactive for you, I wanted to figure out how can I provide as much value for you as possible. And that's whether or not you're coming and watching this during my live stream or whether you're watching this on the replay. So I'm going to start out each of my live streams with a brand new segment. So I'm going to start off with your creative writing questions answered. So I've worked with a lot of writers over time. I've been in a lot of writers groups and worked with a lot of clients. And there's always so many different types of questions that are asked. So I'm like, all right, like I know how to answer a lot of these questions. A lot of creative writing things just have always made sense to me. So essentially what I'm doing is I've pulled some very interesting creative writing questions that I've just seen today. And as I go forward on these live streams, I'll bring up creative writing questions that have just felt predominant that I can answer for you. And if you're in the stream right now, welcome. You're more than welcome to hop into the comments and post a question. If there's any writing-based questions you want me to answer, would be so happy to help you out. All right, so I'm going to hop over to question number 1 that I saw today. So this was the first question. Let's see, I found this on a forum. So question number 1, looking for a little advice. I have a short story I'm looking to turn into a children's book, but I get stuck when I try to expand it. So normally what I would see with this, so I think what it is they probably have it's probably like a couple pages of what the story that they have, but it sounds like they need to expand the idea into a more fleshed out story. Now, not the challenge, but the difference with children's books is that every section of your story also has to be accompanied by pictures and artwork. And a lot of children's books you see now, they're much more detailed and much more thematically based and linked than when we were children. It's interesting, yeah, because I picked up a children's book recently. I forgot what it was called. And it's just such a different experience because you really have to capture and captivate the children, knowing that they're also easily influenced by technology in our day and age. So much easier. How do you compete for attention with a children's book as compared to a phone? Because all children in this day and age grow up with a phone. So my piece of advice for this question would be write out the story that you want to tell first off. And when I say write it out, I mean write out the plot points. So if you were to sum up your story into an outline, what would you say is the beginning, the middle, and the end? Now, if you want to flesh that out into a children's story, basically each of the plot points have to match each of the pages for a picture that you're going to add to it. So let's say you had like 3 pages of a short story, and you're like, I want to turn this into a children's story. All right, so then what you would do is you'd put the plot points you have, beginning, middle, end, and then what you can do is you can flesh out what are things that you can add for the beginning, for the character to get from the beginning to the middle, and the character to get from the middle to the end. For example, so let's say that you had a short story. Actually, I'll give you guys a perfect example. So I did a short story about what was that? The fox. Let me see if I can pull up the picture for you guys. So I did a short story about a jaguar and a hunter a few days back. I'm going to see if I can find it. But I'm asking myself, all right, what if I wanted to flesh it out and turn it into a children's story? Right, bear with me while I pull up the picture for you. But essentially what I would do is I would outline it first. Let's see. Okay, perfect. I have found it. So I'm going to go here and give me just a second. Let me now pull this up for you guys. Interesting. It is not here anymore. Okay. Perfect. All right, here it is. So I'm going to pull it up on the stream right now so you can see. All right, so this one right here. So basically I wrote a story about a man and a jaguar. It's a 2-page short story about how they met up, about how they became friends, and then how they fought each other. If I was going to turn that into a children's story, I would then write out, okay, between them meeting up and them getting in a fight with each other, what are different things that could happen to create obstacles for them? So before they meet up, maybe he gets stuck and he has to learn a lesson about using his axe. Or maybe in another picture, the jaguar has to try searching for an animal and then loses it. But it seems like that's the animal that she's going to capture. You see what I'm saying? You just add additional points that are going to either build their characters or create an obstacle for them. All right. Perfect. So that's question number 1. Now, all right, question number 2. So this was the second question that I found earlier. So question of the day. Anyone else just completely unable to outline, no matter how much I pre-plan and plot the moment I start to write? And I mean the very start. Everything I've planned changes. That has definitely happened to me before. So I would say there's been times when I've written a story and I set the outline beforehand, and I set like a very, very detailed outline. And when I say detailed, like it was probably like 30 to 40 bullet points. That has happened to me before, because I'm like, all right, this is the exact story I want to tell. It has to hit this point and this point and this point. And then I start actually writing the story, and then I'm like, wait, that doesn't actually make sense. So then I have the character to do something different, and then I try to go make sure that they hit the last plot point so I get back on track. But then that doesn't make sense, because then the story starts going in a different direction. The great thing is that outlines are not set in stone. Outlines are a guidance for you to tell a story if you don't know where to go. My belief is that when you're writing a story, whether or not you're doing a creative story, it should be based off the character and be based off what you think the character's journey is. And then, let's say you're halfway through the story and you're like, wow, this doesn't match my outline at all. Do a new outline, unless you feel confident that you can get to the end of the story with what you've been writing. Because then that's telling you that what you had planned maybe it's not necessarily the story that you wanted to tell. So that's an answer for you about outlining. I hope that helps any of you viewers watching this, whether during the live or on the replay. All right. So let's see. So after answering some creative writing questions for y'all, let's get to our writing for the day. And now I have to go pull up my last picture. I lost my short scarecrow. So with the craziness of the day, I asked myself, what did I feel like writing today? All right, bear with me while I go find my pictures. Apparently, Kauffman could be a little more organized. All right. Let's see. Un momento. All right, here we go. So I have the Last Scarecrow is brought back up on my computer. Oh, wonderful. All right. So let me pull it up so now you guys can see it on your end. And again, welcome to Kauffman Writes. Pull up a pen and come right with me. So let's see. Excellent. So now you can see here. And as you can see, so I don't know whether or not you joined me previously, but the free write I've been working on for the past couple weeks, I started this story called The Last Scarecrow. It's actually been a very fun experience. I thought it was going to be like this 2-page short story, and then as you can see here, so this is what I started. Now it's called The Last Scarecrow, a post-apocalyptic fairy tale. Ooh, scary. And now it's become so far I'm at 17 pages, and with the point that I'm at with the Scarecrow, I've now developed this not full, but I'm developing this fleshed out world where it's essentially about the creatures are coming to life after humanity has already killed and destroyed themselves. You have the Scarecrow who's chasing this crow across the land, who stole his hat, and he's passing by the remains of humanity, which has long been gone. And now we're seeing what the world is like when it's now reset. And it started with this picture right here. So I'm telling you, I did not think that when I was going to start this this 366-day challenge to myself that I was going to come up with a cool story. And as I've been working more and more into it, I'm like, all right, this is actually going to be a really cool short story. So, all right, so let me get to where I was at. 30 minutes. I'm starting the clock, and feel free to post a comment if you have any questions. All right, and let's write. Time to write now. Perfect. All right, so let's see, where did we last leave Mr. Scarecrow? Okay, so last time I was with Mr. Scarecrow, and actually, hold on just a second. I have to check something real fast. All right, I wanted to make sure. I thought that my live stream had turned off for just a second. I was getting this funky message over here. So, sorry, bear with me, guys, just a second, guys. Like, check out what I got going on my screen. I was like, all right, we don't need two Kauffmans in this live stream. Okay. Perfect. So I had that set up. All right. So now I'm going to hop back into it. So as I was saying, I was on the Last Scarecrow. I'm actually going to reset my timer because that threw me off for a second. All right. So like I said, I don't know if you've joined me previously. Essentially, the Last Scarecrow is he's gone across the land chasing the crow with his hat. He hit this moment in this cave. Now, originally I thought it was going to be a midpoint, but essentially he encountered a dead fossil that he realized was a human. He had a moment of existential crisis. He started running. He found himself outside of the cave again, now in a harsh snow environment. The seasons are very much doing a number on this world. The season that he started off with in the beginning of the story looked like this, right? So this kind of looks like fall, spring, kind of looks like it's like nice outside. Well, as he's traveled and now as he's coming out of this cave, he's suddenly in the middle of a blizzard, like WTF. But he's grown up in this environment his entire life, so it's not something he's used to. Well, he knows the elements. He's not used to them changing so rapidly. So let's go. He left the cave, and let's see. I need to get myself back into it so I can remember. So that's right. So he heard the crow cawing about in the distance. All right. So let's see. All right. So he closed his eyes and listened to the sound of the crows screeching before he took off in that direction. Opposite the cave. Before he took off in that direction, opposite the cave. He only had to run up and down one hill before he encountered. I want to throw in a little bit of the weather there. Opposite the cave. He only had to run up the heavily. He only had to run up the heavily snowed upon. He only had to trudge. He trudged up the hill through the snow and down the other side. Before encountering the source of the disturbance. That sounds better. He trudged up the hill through the snow and down the other side before encountering the source of the disturbance. Mr. Crow was on the ground at the bottom of the hill. Towering over him was a large brownish-white creature. He didn't recognize it, but he was never one to fear the animals. Being a protector had always been his sole responsibility, after all. He almost felt a responsibility to ward off those who meant to do harm. The Scarecrow started down the hill first. He went at a trot, but before long, it became a full-fledged run through. I want to make sure to include the snow elements here. But before long, it became a full-fledged run through the snow. No, against full-fledged run against this snow, which pelted him in the face. He began flinging his arms about wildly and yelled, "Hey, you get away from Mr. Crow!" The creature, who looked about ready to bite Mr. Crow with a set of sharp teeth, turned to him instead. That should not be there. Its mouth opened slightly, and a growl came out. The Last Scarecrow would have none of it. He pictured what the growl would sound like, puffed himself up as best as he could, and growled back. As a side note, like when I thought of this, I'm like, what is that image of a scarecrow running down a snowy hill, coming across like some sort of wolf or bear? And what's he going to do? He puffs himself up. Like, that image was just hilarious to me. He pictured what the growl would sound like, puffed himself up as best as he could, as best as possible, and growled back. He ran faster and faster, emboldened by this new duty to protect Mr. Crow. Just when he was about to reach the creature, He pulled a trick one of his creators had taught him in a crisis. The last scarecrow let out a howl. The creature stopped snarling with a near look of shock and backed up. "Begone! Flee! Leave at once!" the scarecrow shouted. The creature... let's see. The creature who appeared unprepared for such encounter, but... Yeah, no. The creature appeared unprepared for such an encounter and bolted in the opposite direction. With the animal long gone, the scarecrow could now see Mr. Crow's true plight. Snow stuck to his long, black, wrinkled feathers, and one of his wings tried to flap fiercely, but looked to be bent. Mr. Crow continued to let out a screeching of cause in pain. "Oh, Mr. Crow, why did you have to leave me on this journey? I'm lost. And I don't want either of us to end up like..." He stopped himself. He couldn't bring himself to picture the young creator with the red beanie anymore. He had to focus on the problem at hand. The scarecrow bent down over Mr. Crow. The small, black, fragile creature looked up at him with large black eyes full of terror, expecting the worst. The scarecrow did the unthinkable. He removed his jacket and gently lifted Mr. Crow into it. The cawing continued, but it seemed to lessen ever so slightly. Well, I clearly can't have you dying on me. However, I see what I did. That should not be like that then. Well, I clearly can't have you dying on me. However, alright, that was just a punctuation. Well, I clearly can't have you dying on me. However, am I supposed to find my way home without you? Mr. Crow stopped screeching and flapping his wings so furiously now, seeming to accept his fate as the scarecrow lifted it up from the purple-tinted snow. And if you're just joining, something that's different about this environment and about the weather now is that the snow has this almost purple hue to it, because something is wrong with nature. Hence, one of the reasons that humanity is no longer around. So, all right. That's right. So my question was, where do I go from here? Clearly, he's just saved Mr. Crow from this beast attack. Now, up until the point in the story, the crow has been the antagonist. And his hat. Okay. So the scarecrow lifted up from the purple tinted snow. Hmm. Weird. I realize this is a very heartwarming moment, actually. The crow, who he's been chasing for the better portion of this journey so far. Now that the roles have turned, he's not going to let him lose his hat, which is the one thing the Scarecrow has been chasing after. Hey, what's up, man? No, I'm still here, my man. Right now, I'm just working on the last Scarecrow. Woo! What'd you work on? Oh, that's right. What is that? The story you were talking about with your time with the fire department, right? Yeah, that's awesome. How much that cafe that you posted, or with the Airbnb, that actually looked really great. When I was still living in, I would say Los Angeles and then San Francisco a little bit, there were times where I would go find random coffee shops and write. Actually, especially in Los Angeles, the culture for screenwriters is you'll find a screenwriter in like every single coffee shop you could imagine. Dude, that's awesome. Did you write a full on short story? Like, did it have like a full beginning, middle, and end, or are you going to keep working on it? Dude, that's awesome. By the way, I literally just have a full on, like I'm on the shorter screen now, but you can see I have a cool new like mic setup. So definitely, please let me know if my audio quality is great or it sucks. I'm really working at trying to improve. I don't know. Oh, that sucks. So I was you know, that's actually really hard when you're like feeling away. Awesome, thank you. Um, you know, it's actually really hard when you're like when you have something really cool written, but then you start dealing with life stuff. It's really difficult to reset your energy. Something that I always like suggest is like if you're feeling a way about something, start something else because you can actually usually channel your those emotions into writing something really good. That's awesome. That's really really cool. I'm now I don't know if you saw one of my earlier live streams when I first started this live the last Scarecrow free, right? I miss your editing. Well, you have to hit me up. You know, we can. I'm eager to get started on your to help you out with your horse story whenever you want to work on it. Also, something actually, Vaughn, that you can do if you're working on anything while I'm doing these live streams, if I'm able to, something new that I was actually thinking about doing. I was thinking about maybe reading some sorts of like excerpts of other creative writers, so that way I'm not just making it about myself. Because my goal is to like help other creative writers. Like, I'm here because I made like a consistent commitment to myself, but I'm trying to think of creative ways to help other writers. If you ever want me to like take a look at one of your like an excerpt of something, I'd be happy to do that on one of these streams. Anytime, my man. I like wrote this line with the scarecrow. And I'm like, of course, maybe I should make the scarecrow more punny. Because I think about like humans that he had listened to in a field over like the early portion of his life. What would he have heard humans talking about? Like, would he work? Maybe politics? Maybe jokes? That could be a thing. Maybe as I go into like a second draft for this, or on the second end. Right now, he's walking through a snowstorm, and because he's made of straw, like more and more of him is blowing away. So he's like clearly not doing well. I wanted this character, like the farther he gets into the story, the more he's losing pieces of himself because he's literally made of straw. So by the end of the story, there's going to be basically none of him left. Welcome to Kauffman Writes. I'm trying to think of what. So like he's in the snowstorm, right? And he's found the crow. He's holding him. He's bundled in his jacket. I'm like, how do I get him out of this snowstorm? Especially when I've established that he's basically in the middle of nowhere. What sort of shelter am I going to give him? I thought of this cool moment that I was going to do, and I thought of this last time. So essentially my original concept for the story was he was going to chase the crow throughout this post-apocalyptic land, catch the crow at the end, get his hat back, have a crisis, and then that would be the end of the story. But now he's caught. Maybe I will have him find like a hut somewhere. Like what? Like some sort of like patrol hut. Actually, that's actually not too bad of an idea. It would have to be very much worn down. That's actually a good idea. Every time he finds something in the area, I always try to make it a reference to or a tree well. What's a tree well? Like where you're talking about like one of those like giant tree, and it's like an opening inside a tree, and it's like is that what it is? Cool. Yeah, I'm like, so before this scene, he came from a cave with a destroyed human city. So every time he finds something that's human-made, I'm trying to make sure that it's destroyed, so it has a reference to this post-apocalyptic world. But he's gone through a forest already. So he's gone through a forest and a cave and a pond, I guess a pond/lake. So I'm trying to think of like what other types of environments can I still have him find. I think a hut's actually going to be better right now. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Wait, what's an Alaska hut? Okay. Yeah, actually, I think that would be cool. Actually, yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna have him find. Because if he's in a post-apocalyptic world, then most of like the human-made stuff would be like destroyed by now. My idea with this was that he had been watching that his field for originally I was like, okay, maybe it'd been a few years, but I think he's been watching that field for like hundreds upon hundreds of years. And the last time that he's actually seen humanity has probably been well over 100 years now. I realized it would be more impactful if he's exploring this world with humanity very much out of the way. So any like human environments that he comes across, I really want them to be destroyed and decayed. And I think something like man-made, but something that's made out of the environment would be perfect. I actually really like that. I think I'd go with an Alaska hut. Hmm. Trying to think of how the Last Scarecrow would describe it. I'm like not sure if I'm happy with my description of it. I feel like I need to cut down on it a little bit. There we go. I feel like that's a good. That was like a good little break here. Yeah, actually, I think that that little like snow shelter is actually very, very perfect. When I'm like thinking of it, Vaughn, I'm like imagining this in my mind. I picture like a very small igloo. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. Without having done any sort of Google research for it, I picture a very like an extremely airtight igloo that's built into the ground itself. Yeah, I feel like I'll probably come back and like re-edit like this portion of it when I come back. Yeah, I feel really good with this though. But you know, you know what's interesting? Like, I was saying this earlier in this stream, but I'm now at about 19 pages. Like, I thought this was going to be like when I started, I'm like, all right, there's like a 5 to 10 page like short story based on this like picture I came. And now as I'm getting into exploring the world, now I'm getting into re-exploring the world, and I've realized that it's going to be probably like a 40, 50 page actual like short story. Because I have this like very in-depth world now where the last Scarecrow is going to encounter these creatures or encounter other creatures who are soon able to start speaking. And I think it's going to create this very cool, like, just kind of fairy tale-ish world where now creatures are basically coming to life, so to speak. And I thought it would be cool to show the evolution of the crow learning to be able to speak suddenly as a result of the environment and how damaged the environment is. But now there's this like magical element to it that's basically giving the animals the ability to speak. And it's going to explain why the Scarecrow has the consciousness that he does and is able to speak at the rate that he can. Because during his creation, hundreds upon hundreds of years ago, he was just a normal scarecrow. And I think I've led up this story, leading the reader to believe that. But I just thought that would be super cool. I've been having fun fleshing out this world. But yeah, I feel like I've made a pretty good jump into it this evening. With that, I'm probably going to call it a stream. You're right, fast. Yeah, I do a different style. Yeah, I'm like used to going really into it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it a stream for this evening. I feel really good. But it was great to have you on, my man. I really appreciate you. And let's see, tomorrow, I think what I'll start doing, I think probably starting next week, once I have my routine down, I'll probably start posting the times I'm going to start doing week by week. So that way, like yourself, if you want to like hop in, you can kind of see what times I'm doing every day. I've been playing around with a lot of different like time frames, so we'll see. But I know tomorrow I'm planning on Thursday. I'm going to do an afternoon live stream, so I'll probably be on around probably around like noon, probably around 12 Pacific time. Anytime, man. But awesome. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Otherwise, get some good sleep, my man. I'll catch you on the flip side. And for anyone who joined this evening, I just want to say thank you. Let me pull myself up. I just want to say thank you for joining me this evening. This has been day 17 of Kauffman Writes. And I can say that I did not think that I was going to actually have so much success with this. I've now come up with 4 or 5 short stories, of which The Last Scarecrow is probably the most predominant. I keep trying to just improve the quality and consistency of the overall live stream. Starting with today and tomorrow, I added the question of the day element to the beginning of it. I will probably start pulling more questions to help out creative writers. So I encourage you to come in and watch the streams. So that way you can either be involved during the live stream, or for those of you who want to watch the replay. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow.